Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavava Girivaradare Gopi Janavava Girivaradare Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajrakacharya Ashtotra Shatashi Shrimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajrakacharya Ashtotra Shatashi Shrimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopakapana Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai New Govardhan Dham Ki Jai All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, entitled Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 29, talks between Narada and King Prachini. We're on text 57. So if everybody could please repeat after me. Samshayo tra tu me vipra sanchinas tatkrito mahan rasopi hi muyanti yatra nindriya vrittaya Samsayo tatra tu me vipra sanchinas tat krito mahan Rishyo pihi muyanti Yatra nendriya vrittayaha Samsayata tu me vipra Sanchinas tat krito mahan Rasayo pihi muyanti Yatra nendriya vrittayaha Samsayotra tu me vipra Sanchinas tat krito mahan Rishyo pihi muyanti Yatra nendriya vrittayaha
What do you have for us?
You could go. You could go. Dharma Prabhu? I think it might have been an accident. Would you like to chant? Okay, word by word translation. Samshayaha, doubt. Atra, here. Tu, but. Me, my. Vipra, O Brahmana. Sanchanaha, cleared. Tatkritaha, done by that. Mahan, very great. Rishayaha, the great sages. Api, even. He, certainly. Muyanti, are bewildered. Yatra, where. Na, not. Indriya, of the senses. Vrittayaha, activities. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. My dear Brahman, there are contradictions between your instructions and those of my spiritual teachers who engaged me in fruitive activities. I now can understand the distinction between devotional service, knowledge, and renunciation. I had some doubts about them, but you have now very kindly dissipated all these doubts. I can now understand how even the great sages are bewildered by the real purpose of life. Of course, there is no question of sense gratification. Purport. King Barhishman was engaged in different types of sacrifice for elevation to the heavenly planets. People generally are attracted by these activities, and very rarely is a person attracted to devotional service, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirms. Unless one is very, very fortunate, he does not take to devotional service. Even the so-called learned Vedic scholars are bewildered by devotional service. They are generally attracted to the rituals for sense gratification. In devotional service, there is no sense gratification, but only transcendental loving service to the Lord. Consequently, the so-called priests engaged in sense gratification do not very much like devotional service. The Brahmins, the priests, have been against this Krishna consciousness movement since it began with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started this movement, the priestly class lodged complaints to the Qazi, the magistrate of the Mohammedan government. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had to lead a civil disobedience movement against the propaganda of the so-called followers of Vedic principles. These people are described as karma jata smartas, which indicates that they are priests engaged in ritualistic ceremonies. It is here stated that such people become bewildered, rishyo pihi muyanti. To save oneself from the hands of these karma jata smartas, one should strictly follow the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sarva dharmam prityaja mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papyebhyo mukshishami masichaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, text 66. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshulanmaditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karidvachalam Pangam Langai Tegirim Yakipatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinitaniram Vancha Kapadiribhishta Kipa Sindhu Vicha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivas Adi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I'll just read the translation again. My dear Brahman, there are contradictions between your instructions and those of my spiritual teachers who engage me in fruitive activities. It's King Prachinabharishat speaking to Narada Muni. I can now understand the distinction between devotional service, knowledge, and renunciation. I had some doubts about them, but you have now very kindly dissipated all these doubts. I can now understand how even the great sages are bewildered by the real purpose of life. Of course, there's no question of sense gratification. So, Srila Prabhupada mentions here in the purport about how, since the beginning of the Krishna consciousness movement, the Smartas, or these Brahmins who are really missing the point of, what the Vedas are all about, means Krishna consciousness or devotional service to Krishna. They have been against this Krishna consciousness movement, Prabhupada says, since the beginning of it, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu starting it. And here, I'll just read this excerpt from Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. It's a very beautiful excerpt. It's from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote it. It's the prologue of Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And specifically this short work by Bhaktivinoda Thakur entitled Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, His Life and Precepts. It says it was written August 20th, 1896. So it describes, or he describes in this work here, this short work, this encounter that, anyways, I'll read here. From From this time to his 23rd year, Mahaprabhu preached his principles not only in Nadia, but in the important towns and villages around his city. In the houses of his followers, he showed miracles, taught the esoteric principles of Bhakti, and sang his Sankirtan with other bhaktas. His followers in the town of Nadia commenced to sing the holy name of Hari in the streets and bazaars. So they started singing streets and bazaars. This created a sensation and roused different feelings in different quarters. The bhaktas were highly pleased. The Smarta Brahmins became jealous of Nimai Pandit's success and complained to Chand Kazi against the character of Chaitanya, claiming it was un-Hindu. The Kazi came to Srivas Pandit's house and broke a mridanga there, coal drum, there, and declared that unless Nimai Pandit ceased to make noise about his queer religion, he would be obliged to enforce Mohammedanism on him and his followers. So broke the mridanga, and better stop this, we're going to force. Right? This was brought to Mahaprabhu's notice. He ordered the townspeople to appear in the evening, each with a torch in his hand. This they did, and Nimai marched out with the Sankirtan divided into 14 groups. On his arrival in the Qazi's house, he held a long conversation with the Qazi, and in the end communicated into his heart his Vaishnav influence by touching his body. The Qazi then wept and admitted that he had felt a keen spiritual influence which had cleared up his doubts and produced in him a religious sentiment which gave him the highest ecstasy. The Qazi then joined the Sankirtan party. The world was astonished at the spiritual power of the great Lord, and hundreds of heretics converted and joined the banner of Vishwambar after this affair. It was after this that some of the jealous and low-minded Brahmins of Kulia picked a quarrel with Mahaprabhu and collected a party to oppose him. Nimai Pandit was naturally a soft-hearted person, though strong in his principles. He declared that party feelings and sectarianism were the two great enemies of progress, and he saw that as long as he should continue to be an inhabitant of Nadia belonging to a certain family, his mission would not meet with complete success. He then resolved to be a citizen of the world by cutting off his connection with his particular family, caste, and creed. And with this resolution he embraced the position of a sannyasi at Katwa, under the guidance of Keshava Bharati of that town, in the 24th year of his life. His mother and wife wept bitterly for his separation, but our hero, though soft in heart, was strong in his principles. He left his little world in his house for the unlimited spiritual world of Krishna with man in general. So, yeah, the Smartas, they were jealous. This is un-Hindu. They were against Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and what he was doing. And as it's being stated here by Srila Prabhupada, that the Brahmins and priests have been against this Krishna conscious movement since we begin from Lord Chaitanya. So it's a threat to them because the Krishna consciousness movement, it's all about pure devotional service. And it's not about what King Prachinabharhishat's priests were teaching him. Engage in fruitive activities, go to the heavenly planets. It's all mundane. It's all in relation to sense gratification. And as it was a problem in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time, it was also a problem in Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's time. And they were very much against him. So there's a very Srila Prabhupada in a lecture in February 7th, 1969, he describes something Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur told him about these Brahmins being against him, against Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So this is Prabhupada, excerpt from Prabhupada's lecture. That is the contribution, say within 100 years, that is the contribution. And for this reason, he had to face so many vehement protests from this Brahmin class Goswamis. they had conspired to kill him. What type of Brahmins do that? Brahmins don't do that. It's not real Brahmins. They conspired to kill him. Guru Maharaj told me personally. So Prabhupada's saying he told me personally. Because by his grace, when I used to meet alone, he used to talk so many things. He was so kind that he used to talk with me. So he personally told me, these people, they wanted to kill me. They collected 25,000 rupees, which back then was, I mean, I don't know how much is 25,000 rupees now? I don't know. $1,600? What are you saying, Ramapati? 3,500? Okay, we were 3,000. So it was, I don't know how many years ago was that. Long time ago. It was quite high price. They collected 25,000 rupees and went to the police officer in charge of that area that, you take this 25,000 rupees, we shall do something against Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. You don't take any step. So they're trying to bribe. And the police officer refused and came to my Guru Maharaj that, you take care, this is the position. So he told me, be careful. They didn't accept the bribe. Because it's a threat. It was a threat to their. It was like their livelihood, like you're threatening their financial stability, in the sense that, as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, they keep shaligram shilas, little, stones. Shila means stone. Shaligram shila. It's a form of Krishna, form of the Lord. Pujaris, Brahmins, they worship. So they keep shaligram shilas for cracking nuts. So, which means that they have the temple open, they have the deity worship going on. Why? For financial purposes, to get money. And this was also a thread in his time about the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The birthplace is near our Mayapur temple. But some say it's not. They say it's the other side. It's in Navadvip, right? Some say that. But our Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Jagannath Das Babaji, and they've established that it's by our Mayapur temple. So this caused this was a threat, because if you have a temple where there's a holy place, guess what that means? It means a lot of people are coming through, hundreds, thousands. And what does that mean? It means a lot of people are dropping rupees into the handi, into the donation box. That's the tradition. When myself and Santosh Prabhu went to Vrindavan, we were there together for like a week or something. But anyways, when we arrived there, we just walked onto the campus, and this devotee came to us. Oh, come! He said, "We need your help. We need we needed you to do some service." I said, "Okay." And we just got there. Yeah, sure. What do you need help with? So they brought us to a back room behind the pujaris, behind the deities, and there was 10, 15 devotees, in a big circle, and we joined the circle, and the room was just, full of rupees, notes. So we're counting, So that was our service. We got to count, Krishna Balaram's donation. Oh, no. Yeah, we're left. And then we counted there for quite some time. I mean, it was a good amount. So we were counting, and I don't know, at least an hour. But there's 10 devotees. But so we finished up more or less, and then we left, and they gave us some Mahaprasad. Thank you very much. Okay. So yeah, the temples, they get a lot of donations. So it was a threat. Yeah. And we have this here. For $416. Okay. So, in Srila Prabhupada, he would comment on this in his books, and his books are, he said, the law books for the next 10,000 years, and he gave us warnings that we also have to be careful about this. that we don't fall into this trap of like the smarter Brahmins, using spiritual, engage in Krishna in our service, means financially. So, anyways, for example, here Prabhupada says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita purport, if a person overly addicted to family life takes to Srimad Bhagavatam or Krishna consciousness to earn a livelihood, his activity is certainly offensive. One should not become a caste guru and sell mantras for the benefit of mundane customers, nor should one make disciples for a livelihood. All these activities are offensive. One should not make a livelihood by forming a professional band to carry out congregational chanting. Nor should one perform devotional service when one is attached to mundane society, friendship, and love. Nor should one be dependent on so-called social etiquette. All this is mental speculation. None of these things can be compared to unalloyed devotional service. So it was a worry of. It's a worry that the hardcore smarter Brahmins, they say, oh, you're born in the West, immediately you're disqualified. You have to be born in India, and then you could become a Vaishnava, you could become a Brahmin, you could become qualified, right, to worship Krishna. But until you're born in the West, unqualified, sorry. Next life, maybe. So those are, you could say, like the hard, smarter Brahmins. That's what they think. Now, there's also some people who have they're not hard, smarter Brahmins, but they have some ideas like that. That, okay, well, maybe the Westerners could become Brahmins. Maybe they could become Vaishnavas. They have some, you could say, faith in that. But it's a worry that they have, and the worry is that those born in countries outside of India and not trained since childhood and so on will spoil the culture of Krishna consciousness. They will spoil what it means to be Brahmin, what it means to be a Vaishnava, what it means to be a devotee. In other words, they'll misrepresent, and that's a worry. And this is valid. It's a valid worry. And Srila Prabhupada also had that worry that over time, as things do, they become lost, and that the culture and the practices would become lost. So we have to be careful that we are performing a service for Srila Prabhupada and not a disservice. And we have to be careful that we're representing him properly and not misrepresenting. But the challenging thing is that sometimes people, they think they're performing a service, but they're actually performing a disservice. People think they're representing, but they're actually misrepresenting. That's the challenging part. Just like Prabhupada would give the example of a mosquito. Like a mosquito is very close, right, to the king, But the mosquito, it's not... I mean, I think even they would say, it's kind of, the mosquito's thinking, I'm... What how does it go?
He lands on the king's
shoulder. He lands on the king's shoulder, and, people are bowing down, and, I'm so close to the king, or whatever, But... The king is just bothered by the mosquito, bites him, and so it's not performing a service. It's So we have to be careful that we're performing pleasing service and representing properly. And Prabhupada's worry, he. I'll read one more thing. His worry is stated here in a lecture. A lecture in Los Angeles, 1976. June 4th, on the Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, 1st canto, 1st chapter, 38 text. So, I'll just read that. And this, he explains his worry here. The blessed messengers of Lord Vishnu, the Vishnu Dutta, said, if you are actually servants of Yamaraj, you must explain to us the meaning of religious principles and the symptoms of irreligion. So the Vishnu Dutta is right, a Jamil is going to be dragged out of his body to the hellish regions for his, it's a long story, but but he chanted the name Narayan, right? That was the name of his son. So then the Vishnu Duttas came. So then you had the Yamaduttas, means bringing people down. Then you have the Vishnu Duttas, bringing people to the spiritual world. So the Yamadutta or the Vishnu Duttas are saying that you can't bring a Jama down because he chanted the name of Narayan. And he's saying here that because you're servants of Yamaraj, you should know the religious principles. So that's what's. So then Prabhupada says here, the Yamaduttas had challenged, who are you interfering in our business? We have come to arrest him. So the counter challenge was, you said, we are servants of Dharmaraj. It is his jurisdiction. The person is impious. So this is in the jurisdiction of Dharmaraj. He has to try the case and give him punishment, criminal department, law and order. So you cannot interfere with us. Therefore, the challenge was replied by the Vishnu Duttas. If you're actually representatives of Dharmaraj, who tries the cases of Dharma and Adarma, first of all, explain what is Dharma and what is Adarma. So what's religion, what's irreligion? You can't just take him, you have to explain why you're taking him. This is a very nice challenge. Suppose if you say, we are Krishna-conscious persons. One may challenge you. First of all, explain what you know about Krishna. That is quite natural. If you do not know about Krishna, you have no right to say that I belong to the Krishna conscious movement. There was one devotee who's a brahmachari here, and then he moved out, and he was going to college, Mesa College, nearby, and we would go out on book distribution there, and so we would see him there, and he would challenge us. He was kind of a sharp, kind of pointed personality, but he would say, all right, so tell me something about Krishna. But he would say it kind of like, and some of the devotees are kind of like, well, but he was always very happy when someone would say, yeah, okay, you want to know about Krishna? Then they would just, tell him a lot about Krishna. So it was Tota Gopinath. First of all, explain what you know about Krishna. This is quite natural. If you do not know about Krishna, you have no right to say that I belong to the Krishna conscious movement. You have no right to say. So your position is like that. Simply if you have tilak and kanti, neck bead, that does not mean that you belong to the Krishna consciousness movement. Any cheater can do that. You must know the philosophy. If one challenges, you must reply. Therefore, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has sung a song indicating these cheaters. He says, Eto eka kalira chela. Here is a servant of Kali. What kind of chela disciple? Nake tilak galaya mala. He has got a tilak and galaya mala, neck beads. Bas, that's all. He does not know what is the philosophy. If you do not know the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, if you simply mark your body with tilak and kanti, then you are not proper servant. You are not qualified. So tilak mala is necessary, just like policeman. A bogus man, if he dresses like a policeman, he is not a policeman. He must know what is the police law, criminal law. Who is to be punished, who is not to be punished, what is criminality, what is innocence, and all these things he must know. So it ends there. So Prabhupada's worry was that the Krishna conscious movement would become deteriorated or lost over time, in the sense how a lot of other religions, we can't speak for every single person in that specific religious groups, but largely, I mean, Prabhupada would say about meat eating, for example. He said, it goes on so much in the Christian religion. He says, the Christians, they have big slaughterhouses. And if you analyze, a lot of slaughterhouses are in the South. And what is the South called? The Bible Belt. So it's the principle of non-violence. Meat eating. It's lost. I mean, practically. It's practically lost. So now, of course, I don't think that aspect's going to be lost within the Krishna conscious movement. That's really fallen. But Prabhupada was worried that the members over time don't become sentimentalists, don't become fanatics, that they know the philosophy, the Bhagavatam, and they're able to defend the position of the Krishna conscious position on things. So, in other words, we're not supposed to just be like armchair believers, right? It's like, okay, well, we kind of, or probably would say armchair philosophers. But it's the Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita, it's a call to action that, okay, let's change the world, okay, let's change ourselves. Let's, it's about transformation, not just, believing. Because if it deteriorates in just armchair believing, then what happens? Prabhupada states that in the last purport, that at the present moment the churches, temples, and mosques all over the world are not attracted people, because foolish priests cannot elevate their followers to the platform of knowledge. So without the practice, we can't, leaders and followers, and we can't actually do what Prabhupada wants us to do properly. So that's, and therefore we need to develop this called Krishna. I think the word's Trishna. Trishna means thirst. We have to develop this thirst for Krishna, Trishna, and that will be, that's the whole point of joining the Krishna conscious movement. That's the whole point of trying to spread it, is that we ourselves are developing this Krishna Trishna thirst for Krishna, more and more Krishna, and we're also encouraging others in that way. And just for fun, but it's a little kiddie, but what can I say? A child made this, so therefore. But let's see here. One devotee, their householders, their child is also a devotee. They gave me this gift. It's artwork. See? Right? Look at that. It's a cute cupcake. Now there's a purpose why I'm bringing this up. But it's a, prasadam cupcake. Larry made it. Lakshman made it. So the other day I was giving class, and on Thursday, and I was saying how, or in the purport, Prabhupada was saying how, this mental speculation, it's like poison, but people are taking it as nectar. So I was saying how there may be a very wonderful watermelon lime nectar made. And by the way, Vaishnav Das, he happened to make watermelon lime nectar today. So, he made it. Yes, or he happened to, or made it, So I was mentioning the other day, theoretically, but now it's here. But I was saying how it looks good, and it is good. Tastes good. But if there was poison in it, a very subtle poison that you couldn't taste or smell or anything like that, then it's no longer nectar. So I was saying how the illusory energy is like that it looks good, but it's actually not. And the reactions are bad. So similarly, this cute cupcake here, right? Just looks good, right? But check it out. This is pretty cool what she did. See it? Yeah. So, anyways, does anybody have any questions? Or? Oh, who did this? Okay, we'll give. We always have to give credit for the artist. So we have Gaur Keshava and Ananga Priya. They have 2 children. One's Mukunda. I don't know how old. Anyways, 5 or something. And then from Brinda, she's something 8, but she made this. So, anyways, okay. Does anybody have any questions or?
I was thinking, you were speaking about how Srila Prabhupada proposed and showed that Westerners can become Brahmanas, and then some would oppose that and say that it actually can't be done, and that if you do it, it'll end up, it'll be disastrous or something. And so you were saying that then we should try to uphold that and not, prove the other side correct. That actually, and I was thinking in those memories of Srila Prabhupada, or Prabhupada memories, so those tapes, videotapes, my spiritual master gives one, I think it was in Boston, he was saying that the temple president, there's some who had first initiation, so he made up a list of all the people for, and they took first initiation, now, for second initiation, for brahminical initiation. And I guess he showed it to Prabhupada, or they mailed it to Prabhupada, something like that. And Prabhupada said
You said he emailed it to Prabhupada?
He mailed it,
okay.
or
Okay.
maybe showed it, I can't remember if Prabhupada was there. But, and again, the wording I can't remember exactly, but it was that, it shouldn't, not everyone, not that, you should, be more discerning for brahminical initiation. And so then the temple president, went through the list again and kind of, narrowed it down to those who were kind of more brahminical, qualities or nature, behavior. And so I can't do the impression as well as my spiritual master did, but he said there was one person who got cut from the brahminical initiation list. And he said he threw a temper tantrum. And he said, "What do you mean I'm not a Brahmin?" But he was like, the spiritual master, really animated, he really threw a fit. He was like, "What do you mean I'm not a Brahmin?" and yeah, it was suggesting that Prabhupada had a good idea there.
All right, nice, thank you.
Thank you, Balaram Prabhu.
Yes, thank you, Hare Krishna.
Wonderful class. We used the term, Srila Prabhupada was afraid that it would become lost. And the tricky thing about it is, on the outside, from external vision, everything can carry on just as it was when Srila Prabhupada was here and not be anything like what it's supposed to be, pure devotional service. The externals may go on, but if the desire isn't to please Krishna, but like you were saying, making money through the deities, if it all becomes about money, then that's an example of it's lost. It looks the same, but it's not. And just to contribute, you were talking about money. That's the 5th offense in the 10 offenses to the Dham. That's the 5th offense, and then 8th offense in chanting Hare Krishna.
Yeah, that's tough because it says shouldn't do business and make in the Dham and materially minded, for one's personal sense enjoyment. And guess what happens to those people? Right? Prabhupada says, "Oh, why are there so many hogs? Why are there so many dogs, monkeys in Vrindavan?" He says because of that, But of course, there's a happy that says, okay, they spend the animal life there, then they could go back to the spiritual world. But anyways, do you have something?
No, I just had a question. If it can look just the same, but it's materialistic, the intent isn't there, the pure devotion. Well, if it looks just the same, how can you tell the difference? So party A and party B, they'll each saying, well, you're just materialistic. You've lost the intent. So how do you actually discriminate? How can you actually tell if it looks just the same?
Wow. Well, you have something? Yeah.
I have a thought, but I want to see what other people think.
Well, I mean, it's Sometimes it's hard to tell, but ultimately Prabhupada said that we can't cheat Krishna, that's for sure. People may cheat other people, but we can't cheat Krishna. So someone may be very good at looking very devotional and really doing everything, but it's but inside they're not. So sometimes it's hard to tell. But as Jayananda Prabhu said one time, everything comes out in the wash. So eventually, especially if Krishna wants, things come out that this person was cheating for many years or however long, and now it's out. Like whatever. Someone may say, okay, I'm collecting for the poor and needy to feed them, right? But then it just comes out, okay, maybe I was doing that, but I was also, putting huge sums to myself.
I was poor and needy. I was feeding myself.
Yeah. So that's there, and there's this time Tamal Krishna Goswami. He was a very perceptive person, very perceptive devotee, and I think it was in India. There was one man, and he was very devotional and very fired up, and all the devotees were super impressed with him. He was cleaning and just really doing a good job and really giving big donations to everybody was really impressed by him. Then Tamal Krishna Goswami came to the town in India, and the devotees, they introduced this person to him. Oh, this is so and so, and this and that, and it was really And then Maharaj was just really not cordial just really dry with him, not cordial. And the devotees are kind of surprised. Why is Maharaj like this? And we're also impressed with this person. So then, sometime later, it came out that this person was just a complete nuisance, a complete problem to the temple. And then the devotees, they told Maharaj that, and then Tamal Krishna goes, I knew something was with that person. So he was really perceptive. So anyways, those are just some few thoughts. I don't know, maybe other devotees have other things in relation to that, or
I think the key is eventually comes out in the wash. You can see indications like there's that story where Prabhupada saw that one devotee was his dhoti, he was wearing silk, and everyone was saying, well, he's still doing so much work, they didn't notice. But you could tell, this is evidence that he's filching money,
Yeah.
And even more evidence, you can see, you can only fake so long. How much can you fake? Being enthusiastic in the kirtan. Eventually, you come late. And you shirk things, and your room is dirty. There are certain evidences of that you're really being affected by the modes of nature. You can't keep up the facade forever. So eventually, there are certain evidences you can see that things are getting corrupted, and the mood. Reluctance to do services, Harinam, people are dragging out. They're not really very enthusiastic. So it comes out eventually. But it's true that it can go on sometimes for a long time and cause havoc in any specific temple or society.
But there's also the other aspect. Yeah, we do have to be careful. Thank you, Drew. In the sense that you have the story of Gadadhar and Pundarik Vidyanita. Of course, this is a very special case, but it does it does teach a lesson. We're actually we're reading together, a few of the devotees and myself. But we're coming up to that Pundarik Vidyanita and Gadadhar, where there's a time where Mukunda, he brings Gadadhar to go meet Pundarik Vidyanidhi. And Pundarik Vidyanidhi is a great Vaishnava, but he's under disguise, It's like he's chewing the betel. It's like the kind of like intoxication, right? And he's, being fanned with the peacock fan. He's drinking, whatever, not drinking alcohol, but drinking nice beverages, this and that. And he's on some soft cushion. And so Gadadhar in his mind, he's thinking, what type of Vaishnava is this? You know, Vaishnavas are usually more simple and kind of. So then, I think Mukunda, he understood what was going on in Gadadhar's mind. So then Mukundi chanted this verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam about how Putana was brought back to Godhead. Maybe Javita could chant this in the mic. He could. Aho Baki Swab.
Aho Baki Kalakalakutam Jagansya Yabiyada Sadvi. Tadat Juchitam Katon Kumbadayalam Shadanam Vajayma.
Yeah. So it's saying how merciful is Krishna that Putana, it says that she was always thirsty for the blood of human children. You know, she's a witch. So how merciful Krishna that Putana came to feed Krishna, but instead of sending her hell forever, he brought her back to Godhead, brought her back to the spiritual world. How merciful! So how can I serve anyone more merciful than that? So then, when Pundarik Vidyanidhi heard that, he went into ecstasy, started thrashing thing, and he went into unconscious in ecstasy for like 6 hours, something like that. And then Gadadhar, he understood, he's a great Vaishnava, and he accepted initiation. So yeah, of course, it's a rare circumstance, but yeah, we have to be careful. It's hard to tell sometimes, but all right, you have a
another answer could be that how do you know who is a devotee who's performing devotional service? In the CC, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says you can tell who's a devotee by their qualities.
Yes.
Not just how they look, not how they act, but the qualities are substantial. The example of the boy angrily saying, "What do you mean I'm not a Brahmin?" Well, he's not tolerant, he's not peaceful. The qualities are substantial in a devotee.
Yeah. All right.
But sometimes it's really hidden. They have good qualities. And I'm just thinking of one sannyasi. He was a really wonderful sannyasi for years and years and years. But then it turned out he was doing some things that were unacceptable.
Yeah.
So, and I was also thinking of Prabhupada. Prabhupada was in Vrindavan, and he was going to New Delhi, and he was printing books.
Yeah.
Sannyasi going back and forth printing books, and people are like, what kind of sannyasi is this? But Pulina Parichite, look, what's the result? Is that Prabhupada was writing these books that were delivering people from material existence. So it looked like it was, like it was some materialistic activity going, but he was completely transcendental and helping others become transcendental.
Yeah, maybe Maharaj, you could tell that one of how Prabhupada, he was the cloth merchant or something. They followed Prabhupada back to the Radha.
It was
that's a good one. I think you can tell it better.
Ganga Prasad, everyone knows Ganga Prasad in Vrindavan for buying cloth. And so this was about 1973 or 74, and he's passed away now, but the old man, now those guys are all old, but they were his sons, they were his young sons, and he was the old guy. And somehow or other, we became friends. And he told me, and he would sit in the back. He had a Sika and Kuntimala, but you know how those shops are long and thin. And he'd just be chanting japa, or you'd think he'd falling asleep. Somebody would misquote a price. Man, he was completely tuned in to everything, But he was a very nice Vaishnava. And he told me one day, he said, your Guru Maharaj, he was not like the others. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, we see these others, they come and they're reading the newspaper and they're chit-chatting and they're, hanging out at the, they've got the little, tiered loda, and they know I can get ladus here and I can get chapatis if I go to this temple. And, I got to go, 1 o'clock, I got to get over here, I'll get my rice and dal. So, they were like that. He said, but your Guru Maharaj, we wouldn't see him for several days. And then he would come in and he'd buy a little chili, some spices, or he'd get a little rice and he'd be gone. We wouldn't see him for a couple of days. He'd come in and he'd buy, a typewriter ribbon, he'd be gone. He was just in and out, very efficient, and you know. So he said, I was thinking, where is he going? What is he doing? He must be keeping some woman. So Prabhupada was staying at the Vangsi Gopal temple so he followed Prabhupada back to the Vangsi Gopal temple and snuck up and listened outside. He thought, well, I'll hear a radio, he's listened to cricket, or he's got, you know, whatever it is. He hears some woman talking, or, you know, whatever. And he thought, you know, and he said, all I heard was type, 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 type. He said, I came back 9 o'clock at night, type, 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 type. I came 6 o'clock in the morning, type, type. And he said, I could understand that your Guru that he was completely absorbed in his translation of Bhagavatam. So
Yeah.
that's the story. But
It's a great
But
story.
I think studying the character, and sometimes it takes time,
Yeah.
you know. But it will come out in the wash. I was thinking the exact same thing.
It's a great story, this one Maharaj told, you know, worth. Because we could hear, right? We're supposed to hear, and then remember, right? Smarnam, and then repeat. So it's a great story to hear, and then, you know, remember, repeat. You know, it's just wonderful. All right. Okay, so Grantharaj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.